Welcome to the Daily Boogie.
I thought it was very difficult for Democrats to criticise. I found it difficult. I think they found it very difficult, by and large, to credibly criticise anything really in particular. There was no obvious attack point there. There was no glaring, obvious sort of rallying point for Donald Trump's opponents to really hammer home. There was some mutterings from, Joy Reid says the notions of family, church, and military and stuff is outdated and 1950s nationalist rhetoric, but that kind of fell on deaf ears. Rachel Maddow said it was confusing. Other people said, his talk fueled racist divisions when he said Dreamers are American too. But I have a theory. I'm going to put to you, and I'm going to attempt to explain what I think Donald Trump is doing and why perhaps the more hardline, would you say, academic, intellectual Democrats are starting to worry a little bit. I'm going to put it to you that Donald Trump, in this speech, performed we'll call it a political pincer move that is designed to carve out huge chunks of Democrat voters and make them his own. So let's have a look. Tell us. Okay. Let's have a little look-see. Let's work through this. Stick around. Let's get a debate going. Hopefully after this, if it's not too late, we'll try and get a special guest on to go over a couple of concepts. So, let's roll. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It did go for an hour and 25 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing.
Over the last year, we have made incredible progress and achieved extraordinary success. We have faced challenges we expected and others we could never have imagined. We have shared in the heights of victory and the pains of hardship. We have endured floods and fires.
Just for fun, if you're in a drinking mood, I know it is a school night. Special guest title. Good question. Let me try and think of one that ticks as many boxes as it should, and I'll get back to you on that. But special little treat for you, Thursday night free for all. If you want to, please partake in the standing applause drinking game. Every time there's a standing ovation, take a drink, and you'll have a great night, trust me.
And storms. But through it all, we have seen the beauty of America's soul and the steel in America's spine.
See, because every time they stand up, you have to stand up to take the drink. And then you jump on here, jump in the chat box, and tell us at which point you cease being able to stand up to take your drink.
Each test has forged new American heroes to remind us who we are.
When both sides stand, or just one? Just one.
We can be. We saw the volunteers of the Cajun Navy racing to the rescue with their fishing boats to save people in the aftermath of a totally devastating hurricane. We saw strangers.
Just in speech terms, optics terms, rhetoric terms, opening the speech with these couple of hero stories, great move, great play. Sets the tone for what's coming. Non-partisan hero stories, people love. And people love stories, right? People love stories of people overcoming something. So straight from the outset, he's trying to set a tone of overcoming, self-empowerment, overcoming the odds, battling the odds, and doing great things. yourself.
Shielding
Great
strangers
imagery, yes.
from a hail of gunfire on the Las Vegas Strip. We heard tales of Americans like Coast Guard Petty Officer Ashley Leopard, who is here tonight in the gallery with Melania.
Not so petty officer. Sorry.
Ashley was aboard one of the first helicopters on the scene in Houston during the Hurricane Harvey. Through 18 hours of wind and rain, Ashley braved live power lines and deep water to help save more than 40 lives. Ashley, we all thank you. Thank you very much.
Just before we get too far into this, keep something in mind, something that you've probably heard, a lot over maybe the last 2 or 3 years. If you're one of these people who is, a bit more, would you say, on the alt-right, or you mix in those kinds of circles, you would have heard time and time again, or you would have said over and over again in your daily political wars of ideas, and I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but you would have heard or would have said, liberals don't care about facts. You bring them all the facts and all the statistics and they don't care. Okay? People have said that. People say that. What do liberals love? Stories. That's true. Liberals love stories. Perhaps there's something to say about the conservative mindset in that it's perhaps more difficult to win somebody over if they're a conservative with just, we can't change, conservatives might say, we can't change the entire immigration system because your little sister did well at school as an illegal immigrant. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And then perhaps to retort, the person with the more liberal mindset might say, it's not just my sister, someone at work who came when they were 2 years old and they had to work really hard and then they got their schooling and then, that's a great story. Liberals love stories. What was he doing throughout the entire speech? He wasn't just giving you his plan. He wasn't just giving you numbers. Each little moment in the speech had a personal human story attached to it by design. There's indicator 1 of stealing votes from the other side. And it's a woman.
We heard about Americans like firefighter David Dahlberg. He's here with us also. David faced down walls of flame to rescue almost 60 children trapped at a California summer camp threatened by those devastating wildfires. To everyone still recovering in Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, everywhere, we are with you. We love you, and we always will pull through together, always.
That was a theme that was hit a lot harder later in the speech. Together, we was prominent. Together, unity. 5 minutes in, we've had 2 stories. One with a hero female officer, petty officer rescuing people. And one of we can all pull together. We're thinking of you together. They love love.
Thank you to David and the brave people of California. Thank you very much, David. Great job. Some trials over the past year touched this chamber very personally. With us tonight is one of the toughest people ever to serve in this House. A guy who took a bullet, almost died, and was back to work 3.5 months later. The legend.
Trump's mannerisms just get me. This guy, I tell you, this guy, he's a legend. He took a bullet. He came back to work. This guy, I love this guy. It's very, just screams, it's like very New York to me as a foreigner. It's just like, this guy, I love it. To see this guy here, I love this guy.
From Louisiana, Congressman Steve Scalise. I think they like you, Steve. We're incredibly grateful for the heroic efforts of the Capitol Police
This
officers.
friggin' guy right here,
the
let me tell you, this
Alexandria
guy,
Police,
he's a hell of a
and
guy.
the doctors, nurses, and paramedics who saved his life and the lives of many others, some in this room. In the aftermath, yes.
If you're playing the standing ovation drinking game, you should be half pissed by now. Already. Yeah. Duck says Inside Baseball said he bled out twice. Yeah, I've heard similar stories. Yep.
In the aftermath of that terrible shooting, we came together, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as representatives of the people.
See what we're doing here? Do you see what we're doing here? Let me riff with you for a second. For years, I've been talking about this concept, and I'm sure other people have come up with it as well. Bipartisan nationalism. And if you look, you can see it in just about every Western political system on planet Earth. A growing collection of people from the left and the right who are either disillusioned or unhappy and who are now forming a formidable political body, a formidable body politic in of themselves. See, once upon a time, a discussion between left and right in, let's restrict it to any country based on the Westminster system of governance. So that would be Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, obviously. Left and right used to be a discussion, I've made this point before, between two sides of the same coin. Now, rightly or wrongly, it was once had that almost everybody was a nationalist and almost everybody was a Christian. And the main disputes between left and right were on things like labour relations and economics. And that was pretty much it. People on the right wanted more free market and less regulation, and vice versa. People on the left wanted more unionisation. People on the right wanted less. But essentially everybody was on the same team to begin with. It was Team America, to use a somewhat recent reference. It didn't mean, fuck yeah, let's go kick the shit out of Durgers. It didn't mean that. It meant something else. The left and right were on the same team. It was a discussion within a team, like you might have in a locker room. It wasn't separate locker rooms. Okay? Now, for a number of reasons, and perhaps some organic and some not so organic, some forced, some not, that discussion has changed. You know, and we can get into all the factors why, but I don't think it's particularly relevant in this particular conversation. We could do it, but it would take a long time, and we don't have time. So again, what's Trump saying here? We came together as Republicans, as Democrats. In that moment, we were one, right? Consider that as we go forward.
But it is not enough to come together only in times of tragedy. Tonight, I call upon all of us to set aside our differences, to seek out common ground, and to summon the unity we need to deliver for the people.
See, now,
this is really...
That's Chucky, isn't it? That's Chucky Boy doing his best Monty Burns impression, if I'm not mistaken. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's Chuck. Now, Chuck's looking at him like that because he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what Trump's doing. He knows it. He doesn't like it because he knows it's good. Okay? He is eyeing off Trump going, "You slippery bastard." Democrats for a long time have been used to Republicans getting up in front of everyone and hitting the conservative agenda points hard. Now we have the White House again. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And, you know, they fall flat on everything else. He hasn't had to deal with someone who in less than a year has figured out what the Achilles heel of the modern progressive movement is. And he doesn't know what to do. But we'll get into that.
Key. These are the people we were elected to serve.
Nancy isn't happy either. There she's Nancy. Just as a little side note, just on Nancy, there's been a lot of hate out there for Nancy because of reactions like this. Now, in my opinion, she's probably just being natural because she, like Chuck Schumer, knows exactly what he's doing as well. These are both very experienced operators. They know the game. They know how to play it. They know what rhetoric works. They know how to get people to respond. At least they did know. It's not working right now. And we'll get into that later on as well, why their current tactics aren't working when it comes to winning favour. But even though that's her probably natural response and she's just being herself, I would say it's pretty poor in that she should be more self-aware to know that at some point the camera's going to be on her. If I was her, I would be smiles and clapping. And then afterwards, I would say, you know, yes, it was very inspirational speech from Donald and he said a lot of the right things, but we're going to make damn sure that he sticks true to his promises. Something like that. It was a great message, but, you know, we'll wait and see whether or not he can come through. She can't say that because they've already drawn the line so far out there. She can't retreat. That would be a loss. She knows it. She knows. She can't now extend the olive branch because she's already snatched it away. So they're kind of running out of cards to play. But at the very least, on this night, on this occasion, with the cameras there rolling, the whole world watching, she should be at least self-aware enough to understand how this reaction here, this look here, might play out there with her constituents. A lot of which would agree with a lot of the things that Donald Trump has said, has done, and promised to do. Some people say it's, you know, it's rude. I don't think it's rude. I think it's detachment. It's detachment. Maybe hubris. She's detached from the situation. she's not thinking big game here. She's not thinking forward. She's not thinking abstractly. She's not thinking wider scope. All she's doing is sitting there thinking, fuck this guy, you know? And that's a losing strategy. And we'll get into why. See, Chuck at least has a little bit more awareness. Chuck understands a little bit better.
Thank you. Over the last year, the world has seen what we always knew, that no people on earth are so fearless or daring or determined as Americans. If there is a mountain, we climb it. If there's a frontier, we cross it. If there's a challenge, we tame it. If there's an opportunity, we seize it.
Remember the hero stories?
So let's begin tonight by recognizing that the state of our union is strong because our people are strong.
I just want to say, just off the cuff, just quickly, I'm a big fan of this. I want to see more of this in the future. I want to see... Where are we? Let's go here. Don't want to go too far back, because it's only up there for a second.
The
Sorry,
state
I get
of our
distracted.
union is strong because
Because
our people are strong.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is one hell of a bow tie. Right there, in between the two people standing. That bow tie is fantastic. Can we get more helicopter-sized bow ties, please, in public life? Bow ties make the world a wonderful place, even if the person wearing it looks disinterested and disgusted. I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously. You might have real problems with what he's saying, but I can't take you as someone who's angry when you're wearing that bow tie. I'm sorry. You'll always be a cheerful, jolly person, and you have my utmost love and respect.
And together,
I believe those colourful scarves are something to identify you as part of the Black Caucus, the African Caucus.
we are building a safe, strong, and proud America.
And long red shoes, says
Since the election, we have created
Here we go.
2.4 million new jobs, including 200,000 new jobs in manufacturing alone.
the Rust Belt, the states that were held by Democrats for over 30 years, smashed by Donald Trump at the election. Why? Why? Do you remember Obama saying you can't wave a magic wand and make those jobs come back? Well, hocus pocus. Ta-da! Ring. Manufacturing jobs coming back. What kind of people work in manufacturing? People in unions, blue-collar workers, people in the Rust Belt states, right? If you've got money in your pocket, if you were unemployed because your factory went overseas and you're now working again, you've got money in your pocket again. There's an old saying in politics, it's the economy, stupid, right? It's the economy, comma, stupid. And there's another saying in politics, oppositions don't win elections, governments lose them. If you've got money in your pocket and you're working and things are starting to pick up, it's going to be really, really hard, even though you might think Donald Trump's an evil racist and a fascist. If you're a working family, a working class guy, a working class girl, it's going to be really hard for you to vote against him. Really hard. We'll get into it later on, but I just want to say, some of us have been saying for quite some time that the Democrat Party, as we know it today, has effectively been hijacked. It's no longer the Democrat Party. You can call it like the hardline Progressive Party if you want, but it's been hijacked by a kind of academic intellectualism that, you know, kind of exists in textbooks, where theories articulated on national scales about appropriation of culture, fascistic authoritarian instincts, and such, you know. And, you know, it works really good in a college setting from a textbook. It works really good in a circle discussion. It doesn't really work with sheet metal workers. It doesn't really work with people who just want a job or who want to keep more of the money that they've earned. It doesn't make sense to them. It doesn't, you might not have a problem with transgender bathrooms, but that doesn't mean that you want your elected representative going to an election on the platform that they will fight for transgender bathrooms, right? So this kind of intellectual takeover of the Democrat Party that we've seen for the last 30 or 40 years, like I said, which is, let's be honest, they've done a really good job at keeping hold of their voters. But how long is it going to last when you now have someone who's essentially a Kennedy-era blue dog Democrat up there as a Republican, doing things that, you know, the blue dog Democrats themselves advocate? Let's carry on.
Tremendous numbers. After years and years of wage stagnation, we are finally seeing rising wages.
My fellow Aussie ITM booker, the only man I'm confident in having a liver made of steel because he's an Australian, says, how many more ovations? I'm already halfway through my bottle of Stone's Mac.
Unemployment claims have hit a 45-year low. And something I'm very proud of, African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded.
A lot was made of that photo. A lot was made of that particular scene then. Again, going back to Nancy Pelosi, even if you think it's bad, guys, even if you think it's bad and you hate Donald Trump and you think he's a racist and stuff, think of the optics. People are watching you. Your constituents are watching you. You have to be aware of it. A little complimentary clap will not kill you. It doesn't mean that you're now a fascist and you're a Nazi, okay? But a little clap for your constituents would not kill you. It would help you. Sorry. Trump looking right at him. He knows.
And Hispanic American unemployment has also reached the lowest levels in history.
There's another one.
Small business confidence is at an all-time high. The stock market has smashed one record after another, gaining $8 trillion and more in value in just this short period of time. The great news...
There are a lot of Democrat business owners, small business owners. There are a lot of Democrat investors. There are a lot of Democrat blacks. There are a lot of Democrat Hispanics. There are a lot of Democrat manufacturing workers. Keep ticking the boxes as we go through. All of the, would you say, historic, foundational pillars of the Democrat voting base.
The great news.
And when I say Democrat, I mean, you know, in historical terms, Fritzer says Dems need problems, victims, or they are irrelevant. Again, I would draw a distinction perhaps between traditional blue dog Democrat types, and remember what I said earlier about it used to be a discussion between two sides of the same coin, and you just disagree on little things like labour relations and economics and how that's changed for a number of reasons. So let's put them to one side. Yeah, it's live. Hi, Lord Titus. Thanks for joining us. So let's put that to one side and then consider, again, perhaps the more hardline academic intellectual left takeover of that entity and what it's become today. And who do they speak to? And what do they do? What crutch can they fall back on when somebody goes out and takes all the people that they no longer are actively and publicly defending?
For Americans, 401k, retirement pension, and college savings accounts have gone through the roof. And just as I promised the American people...
Question without notice. Do you give Obama any credit for the economy rising? Well, I could say, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to get into a big thing about the economics, but I will say the economy was at such a low point, it's inevitable that it's going to rise. You know, I dislike, I understand why Trump makes references to the stock market, but I dislike it because it was at a really low point. Okay? It's like if you're selling lemonade at a lemonade stand and your business is run so poorly that you can't sell any lemonade, and then somebody comes in and, you know, buys better stock, makes more attractive marketing, more attractive advertising, streamlines the production process in your little lemonade stand, and you start selling more lemonade and sales go up 1,000%. If the lemonade stand was running efficiently to begin with, it's not going to go up 1,000%. So perhaps there's an argument there you can give him credit that the jobs numbers are increasing. The jobs number was a continuing trend, says Lord Titus. Well, at some point though, you know, at some point, changes mean things. So business confidence being up, right? That's not thanks to Obama. It was very low under Obama. Dropping of regulations causes more spending. See, this is why I didn't want to get into a whole sidetrack of it. But when confidence is up, people invest more. When people invest more, there's more jobs. And, you know.
From this podium 11 months ago, we enacted the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history.
For Christ's sake, Turtle, can we get a smile? Pence looks like he should be on a Christmas card all the time to me. You know what I mean? He's always got that warm, glowing look when he looks at Trump. I think he's in awe of him. I think he loves him. He's just always like, yeah. Like you could see Merry Christmas above Mike Pence's head there. I'm telling you. That's a half smile from the Turtle. We'll take it.
Our massive tax cuts provide tremendous relief for the middle class and small business.
Okay, so a lot of Democrat people own small businesses. A lot of Democrat people are middle class. Again, he's cleaving off Democrat voters. Why? Because it's very, very difficult to vote someone out. It's easy to vote someone in. It's difficult to vote someone out when they're giving you what you like. If you're keeping more money in your pocket, even if you think Trump's a horrible person, if things are on the up, it's going to be very difficult to vote against him. Right?
To lower tax rates for hardworking Americans. We nearly doubled the standard deduction for everyone. Now,
for those who came in a little late, what I'm putting to you is an argument that this entire speech was a political pincer move against the Democrats because Donald Trump is appealing to traditional Democrat voters who are no longer represented by the leadership of their party.
now the first $24,000 earned
He's doing a sales
by a married
pitch.
couple
He's a businessman.
is completely tax-free. We also doubled the child tax credit. A typical family of four making $75,000 will see their tax bill reduced by $2,000, slashing their tax bill in half. In April, this will be the last time you will ever file under the old and very broken system, and millions of Americans will have more take-home pay starting next month, a lot more.
Most people can't afford accountants who take care of all of their tax issues. A lot of lower income people are Democrats. If you can make the taxation period just a little bit easier for people, and they get some kind of reward, crumb or otherwise, after the system is easier, you're appealing to a lot of Democrat voters. Right?
We eliminated an especially cruel tax that fell mostly on Americans making less than $50,000 a year, forcing them to pay tremendous penalties simply because
Low income earners, i.e., high Democrat voters.
they couldn't afford government-ordered health plans. We repealed the core of the disastrous Obamacare. The individual mandate is now gone. Thank heaven.
LT says, that's good until the 8th year and taxes go higher for the middle class. To that, I would say, yeah, fair enough. But, you know, have you ever heard the expression, a week is a long time in politics? Yeah? Things that are planned 8 years out can always be reassessed. Always. Sometimes, oh, we haven't seen a copybot for a while. Welcome, copybot. I just want to say welcome to our Russian friend who's wandered in and repeated LT's comment. LT, you must be very astute. The Russian coffee bots are onto you, my friend. But yeah, a week is a long time in politics, so don't rest on your laurels and think, well, you know, that's all well and good, but 8 years from now it's going to be shit. That will not, if it's all well and good for 7 years, my friend, nobody will remember what was said 7 years ago. in regards to the 8th year at that election, right?
We slashed the business tax rate from 35%
everyone's a Russian
all
bot.
the way down to 21%, so American companies can compete and win against anyone else anywhere in the world.
Just a little side note, we now have American politicians coming over here, American business leaders, lobbying our companies in Australia to move to the US for access to cheaper energy. And I love it because we pay 3 times the amount for energy that Americans do, even though we're one of the most resource-rich nations on Earth. So that's going to force our politicians to do something about the energy prices to avoid our companies going overseas. There's a flow-on effect here. You know, oftentimes people will lob in and go, "Yeah, you're an Australian. What are you talking so much about America for?" It's like, because of things like that. Why do you care so much what happens in America? And I'm like, well, maybe if you cared a little more, maybe Donald Trump wouldn't be there, since you hate him so much. But that's an incidental flow-on effect that, you know, shouldn't concern you guys too much necessarily. But when the Australian companies move over there, make sure you have plenty of cold Fosters on hand and plenty of prawns to go on the barbie.
These changes alone are estimated to increase average family income by more than $4,000. A lot of money. Small businesses have also received a massive tax cut and can now deduct 20% of their business income. Here tonight are Steve Staub.
Again, see, now you can rattle off tax figures, you can rattle off statistics, but again, let's remember my theory at the beginning. What do liberals love? Liberals love stories. It's not enough to just give stats and statistics. You've got to put a human face on it. You've got to give them a story. It's a recurring theme throughout the entire speech. Again, this speech was not for Republicans. I'm telling you. If you analyze it and take a step back, it's been a couple of days now, get over the emotional high that you may have received from it and the good reporting, you'll realize that this was not a speech for Republicans. This was a speech for Democrat voters.
And Sandy Keplinger of Staub Manufacturing, a small, beautiful business in Ohio.
He's thinking long term.
They've just finished the best year in their 20-year history. Because of tax reform, they are handing out raises, hiring an additional 14 people, and expanding into the building next door. Good feeling. One of Staub's
Cuba Gooding Jr. making an appearance at the State of the Union address.
employees, Corey Adams, is also with us tonight. Corey is an all-American.
No, not Cuba Gooding Jr. What's his name? Forrest Whitaker. There you go. Forrest Whitaker, ladies and gentlemen. I got the names mixed up. The guy from Species. That is Forrest Whitaker, if I've ever seen him.
Worker. He supported himself through high school, lost his job during the 2008 recession, and was later hired by Staub, where he trained to become a welder. Like many hardworking Americans, Corey plans to invest his tax cut raise into his new home.
I'm just waiting for someone to say, I bet we all look alike to you, don't we?
And his 2 daughters'
It's an honest mistake. I often get Bill Pullman and the other guy mixed up. I forget the other guy.
education. Corey, please stand.
Very sharp, Rosswater. Yeah. Thanks, Kimmy. Timmy playing the game there.
And he's a great welder.
He's a great welder.
I was told that by the man that owns that company that's doing so well. So congratulations, Corey. Since we passed tax cuts, roughly 3 million workers have already gotten tax cut bonuses, many of them thousands and thousands of dollars per worker.
Those bonuses aren't dependent on whether or not you vote Republican or Democrat. One would have to assume that a fair amount of those people who have now gotten tax bonuses vote Democrat. Imagine spending the entire year saying how much you hate Donald Trump and how the tax thing isn't going to work and how all of his plans are bad and how he's going to ruin the economy, and then you get a tax bonus of a couple of grand, right? Imagine that. And you go home that day and you go, yeah, I still fucking hate Donald Trump, but I can't wait to go out and buy my new TV. I'm going to buy those tickets. I'm going to do some things out the backyard. It's going to be great. Right?
And it's getting more every month, every week.
Guess what you
Apple
associate
has
then?
just announced it plans
Guess
to
who you
invest a
associate
total
that bonus with,
of
whether you like it or not.
$350 billion in America
It is a nationwide association meme.
and hire another 20,000 workers. And just a little while ago, ExxonMobil
Donald dollars, I like
announced
that.
a $50 billion investment in the United States. Just a little while.
I wouldn't have made the ExxonMobil reference just because, you know, the environmentalists, but yeah, it's neither here nor there.
This, in fact, is our new American moment. There has never been a better time to start living the American dream. So to every citizen watching at home tonight, no matter where...
This is a recurring theme, and, you know, for fun, some people play, you know, football for fun, some people play video games, some people do all sorts of things for fun. Some people, you know, smoke crack and beg for cheeseburgers for fun. But for fun, I analyse political speeches. I've got books and books and books of it. Love it. Because, you know, people get enchanted by a political speech. But when you're dealing in political speeches and speech writing, it's always about achieving an objective. You know, and before anybody puts pen to paper, Mucho says, I watch Boogie for fun. Well, thank you. I've been told I'm boring. That's just how we separate the wheat from the chaff. The speech writing process is like, these people don't just come up with this on the back of a napkin. Every single line is there for a reason. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, but before you even put pen to paper, before you write even your opening sentence, you have to answer questions like, who is my target audience? What message am I trying to convey? How am I trying to make them feel? What is my objective in this speech? What do I want them to do as a result of this speech? And the do could be anything, you know, it could be, you know, in a campaign, it's about, I want them to vote for me. In a non-campaign season, it might be, you might be making a speech to a particular group of people, like it might be, for example, our lovely young lady earlier, the Somali American Muslim legislator. You might be making a speech to the Somali American Muslim legislators, but you might be talking in the speech to business owners. You might be addressing the Muslim American Somali legislators, but you might be trying to get an objective from the business owners who may or may not be listening to the speech, you see? And just using them as a vehicle. So again, I reiterate, this is not a speech for Republicans. This is a speech for Democrats.
You've been or where you've come from, this is your time. If you work hard, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in America, then you can dream anything. You can be anything. And together, we can achieve absolutely anything.
Again, with the unity, you can dream. That's not an accident that that word's in there. You can dream anything. And a recurring theme in all of Donald Trump's speeches that I've analysed, the one in Poland, even back to the inauguration speech, the CPAC, the speech he gave at the Liberty University, all of them have a recurring underlying theme, which is it's a constant in Donald Trump's public speeches on big scales like this. Self-empowerment. He constantly tries to hit, it's not about me, it's not about what the government does, it's about what you can do. It's about you. You have to do it. You have to grab this opportunity. The time is now. Get out there. Get going. Get started. You have the ability to do this for yourself. We believe in you, right? That's one of the reasons why I draw such a close distinction in political rhetoric between Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy. That famous line, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. It was more nationalist in that time of John F. Kennedy due to the Cold War, obviously, so you've got that nationalist tinge. What can you do for your country? Donald Trump understands that we're not living in the Cold War anymore. He says, what can you do for yourself? Right? So it's ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for yourself. If you're somebody in political life who relies on being needed and people being dependent on you doing things for them, you would not be standing and clapping at statements like that. You would not stand and clap.